All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here, Mark P Markets. Thank you for joining me for another Bitcoin swing trade setups session. Okay. Now, in this session, I'm not only going to go over Bitcoin setups, Bitcoin day trade setups, but we're going to look at the major markets as well. Okay. I just put just the Bitcoin day trade setups in the title because that's really more the emphasis of this session. I'd like to try to keep this at 30 minutes. That's going to be my goal. I know Bill is going to hold me to that, and that's good. Someone should make me accountable. I need to be accountable for my over talking. All right. Anyway, so hey, thank you for joining me again. That's how this session is going to work, and we'll go from there. So let's get this thing started, shall we? All right. So let me just pull up the slide so you guys can see the be aware of risk. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Okay. And let's just say a quick hello to everyone. We got Stian. All right. Hey, Stacy. Good to see you. Welcome. Thanks for joining. You got Bill. All right. Cool. Lord. Hey, hello. Shell. All right. Alice. How are you? Armin. All right. Got all my regulars here. Cool. So as you know, I stream like this every day at 9:30 Eastern time. I'm located in the New York City area, the greater New York City area. It's not that great. And so we're looking at basically the U.S. market open. Okay. And we have a few things to talk about. By the way, I have to point out oil. I'm going to point out oil today because, as many of you know, people that are in the premium channels over on the server. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, if you're not in my Discord community, you should join it. There's a links in the description, and there's a free area. There's a lot of valuable resources in that free area. Okay, you just have to look for them. There's a channel called the Learning Resources channel or whatever. There's a lot of valuable stuff in there. Thanks to Bill. He put a lot of great stuff in there. There's some things in there that I wasn't even familiar with. Please check that out. Also, if you want to know more about my training program, go to markpmarkets.com. All the links are in the description portion. I'm not going to sit here and talk about that for 3 hours. Okay. So anyway, please check that out. And if you support me, I appreciate that very much. This is a lot of work, and I'm pretty much a one-man show. I have Bill and Stian helping me out. I have JP Trader. They're helping me out, but I still have to take care of the really heavy, ridiculous, stuff that I don't really like to do so much. And it's really helpful to me when I have people supporting me in the community. Anyway, all right. So let's first talk about, I wanted to mention oil. That's what brought that up. Oil. I had that oil trade, Stian. Remember that swing trade in oil? Someone had mentioned it. I called the trade. I think it was Stian who called it. And I sent out an exit on Friday. It was a manual exit. I saw a conflicting signal. I said, get out at market. It was around $80. Would you believe it's at $75 right now? Man, this market stinks. It's a good thing I got out. We got away with like 2 points or whatever. It was like a 2-point profit. I was looking for a lot more than that. I saw the problem. I got out. I was going to move the stop to break even like we've been talking about, but I said, you know what? I need to take the profit because those Euro trades sucked. And I'm like, this market stinks. Good thing I got out and we got a 2-point profit. That thing would have been now minus like 3 points or whatever, or 2.5 points. That thing would have been in the negative and getting close to the stop. But that is now a profitable trade. That is how you make money. Okay. I made the adjustment. If I had broken even on those previous 2 Euro trades, it would have been all green. So that's why the new Euro trade that I put out, we're going to talk about that as well. Okay. We're going to talk about that because I put out a new Euro trade. And someone had mentioned yesterday Verve. We'll mention that real quick because this is a good opportunity for me to review some of those trade ideas and why I called them. Okay. So I put out 2 of them yesterday in the evening. I put 2 of them out, swing trades. So let's now get into the Bitcoin day trade situation here, okay? Now, as you know, the day trade mentality is not the same as the swing trade or the investing mentality. I have to make sure that you understand that. The day trade mentality is very tough to utilize. I do not suggest this for beginners because lots of things happen on this time frame, and you have to be able to recognize changes, and you have to be able to be decisive and take action quickly because things change. You cannot have any type of opinion, and you have to be able to look at the market from both sides at all times. So you cannot be biased. This requires the most objectivity. That's why my training program is called 6 Steps to More Objective Price Action Analysis, because the goal as a beginner should really is to learn how to be objective and look at the market from the market's point of view, not your own. Okay, looking at the market from your own point of view is being egotistical, and that is how we all start out. We all think everything is about us. Okay, we interpret the news. Oh, I know what that news means. I'm going to place a trade on that because I know what it means. That's being egotistical. Okay, we have to look at it from a market-centric point of view, because the market is always right. The market knows all the information that's happening in the world. We do not. And I don't care what kind of news feed you have. There's no way we ever will know all the information in the world. And the only way we have any type of advantage with information is if we have inside information. So if you know someone really powerful, like Chairman Powell, for example, and he gives you some inside information, you then have an advantage on the market. Otherwise, you don't. So that means you have to assume, especially as a day trader, you have to assume that every action we take is a 50% probability. It's a safe place to start, okay? 50%, which means you're going to be wrong half the time, all right? Now, let's get into this without rant. Let's get into the Bitcoin situation on the 30-minute. Why the 30-minute? Because I need to get a sense of price structure, and I need to get my context together. Now, I'm not looking at the daily chart for this. I don't need the daily chart. I'm only interested in momentum. So, and I want momentum basically minute by minute. I'm looking to be in and out of this trade maybe in 30 minutes, maybe an hour, something like that. I don't care where it's going to be tomorrow. That's none of my business. I'm only interested in momentum now. All right, so I have to gather some information from this chart. As a day trader, I want to use the least amount of information possible, even less than what I look for as a swing trader. So we're only basically, for my students, right, who know what I'm talking about here, I'm only looking at steps 1, 2, and 6, pretty much. That's all I'm looking at. So we know basically step 1 is trend, right, and structure. So let's start with that. And what we have here, right, with zooming out a bit, what we have, you can see these levels that are on my chart. They're still on here. These are from previous analyses, right? And look how relevant they are. I mean, look at this level right here. Look how many touches that thing has. It breaks. When it comes back, it becomes a level again. It doesn't matter why. It just matters that it's there. All right. Look at this support level that we're going back into here, 16,879. That level is in play right now. Okay, we're at 971. So we're looking at a 100-point pullback there, possibly, right? That's going to be an attractive area for longs. This area right here, maybe slightly below, like this entire zone below it. That's going to be an attractive area for potential day trade longs. And as far as like where we are right now, we're coming off this resistance. That's a bearish outside bar, which calls for bearish momentum, right? So when I go to my smaller time frame, I should be open to shorts, right? Looking for short setups. But the problem with the short setups, right, at this location is where, again, we happen to be at the midpoint of this range. Okay, midpoints are extremely random. I mean, look where we are. We're right in the middle. That anything can happen here. This can turn around and be bullish again. This can turn around. This can do whatever. It's going to be like flipping a coin. So I'm not very enthusiastic about getting involved at this level. All right, so please keep that in mind. So when you're in a consolidation like this, because this is pretty much, you know, I'm focused on this. Okay, I'm not focused on this, because this is really just some sort of reaction, whatever it is. When we zoom out, as we can see, the market is generally maintaining this higher low. On the bigger picture, it's basically maintaining that. So that level is going to be important for me, all right, as far as the day trade goes, potential long. If I'm going to go short, I need to see a clear and established resistance, and that's there. That's it. Okay, we sort of came off that on this candle here. Again, these are 30-minute. This is a 30-minute. We sort of came off of that. But if there was no 5-minute setup in, like really like inside of this area right there, then don't chase it. Okay, you're better off sitting out of the market and wasting your time than wasting your money. All right, you have plenty of time. If you don't like something, you can just turn the computer off. But you can't get your money back. Right? Once the market takes it, it's going to be harder to make it back, especially when you also lose confidence. All right, so that's pretty much the plan. All right, to summarize that, basically I'm looking for longs around this support area if the market can test it, right, somewhere around there. I'm looking for shorts up in this resistance area. That's pretty clear. And inside of here, I'm not really looking to do anything. Now, we have to see what the 5-minute chart says, because the 5-minute chart, for example, may give us like a buy signal a little earlier, like something like that. We'll have to see what that looks like, okay? But right now, we want the market to give us some answers. So what I've done here is I've basically just laid out my plans. All right, so I'm not reacting to anything. I'm not looking at it and saying, well, I'm just going to get a feel and then I'm just going to play around with it. No, I have my plan. So either market aligns with my plan or the market does not. If the market does not, I do nothing. And if you have to sit here for 2 or 3 hours, sometimes you have those kind of days as a day trader. There's nothing to do for 2 or 3 hours. And then, 1 o'clock comes along and a trade setup comes along. Or sometimes you take a trade early, it stops out, and then the next trade becomes the winner. That happens all the time. Getting stopped out on this time frame is very common. All right. So if you don't like that idea, then day trades are not exactly the best for you. Like I said, if you're a beginner, this is really not the place to start. I'm really going over a lot of advanced things very quickly. It doesn't seem like I am because I don't have a complex chart, but there's a very complex thought process that goes into it. And it's really, I try to keep that as simple as possible, but it's about recognizing the changes and being decisive about it. And that really, part of that really comes with experience. You can't really teach that. Okay, you have to practice it, and it starts with a strong foundation of the right concepts. All right, and one of the right concepts, which again no one wants to know about, everyone ignores, is the efficient markets hypothesis. You have to accept that markets are random. If you don't, you are screwed from the beginning. Okay, I spent 15 years believing that markets were not random. They're random. They're mostly random. They're not always random, but it's a really good idea to embrace that idea. Markets are random. It means, 1, no one knows anything. It means 2, that anything can happen. Okay, so you have that. It really opens up your mind and helps you avoid getting stuck with an opinion. Okay, that's the first mistake everyone makes, is they go into this thinking, well, I'm a smart person, I can figure this out. You're playing a random game. You're playing a slot machine, basically. All right, now let's go to the 5-minute chart. Okay, now on the 5-minute chart, so these levels are still in the same. I'm going to have to switch over to the perp chart. All right, but on the 5-minute chart, what we're looking for are actual setups. And this is where we place our orders based on this, right? But the primary thing on the 5-minute chart is the setup and confirmation. Now, like I said, the location, I just ranted for about 5 minutes about this location here, and I don't like that location. So we have an outside bar on the 5-minute, but I'm not interested. That's what I mean. You cannot react. People they obsess over the wrong information. The setup, gotta go long. No, the location is no good. I don't care about the setup. Setups appear randomly. So if you embrace that whole random idea, you will know that setups appear randomly. And that helps you control your behavior better when you know what to expect. This is random. It may go higher, it may go lower. There's no way to know. I have absolutely no advantage. There's no attractive reason to get into this. So I'm not chasing that. I'm going to leave it alone. You say, oh, but there's a resistance up here. These don't really count. These are minor. This is a very minor area, right? So I need to see resistance is where this line is up in here. I need to see price get up there, right? If I'm even going to think about shorts. And it's going to be kind of aggressive because this structure, while it's range bound, the bigger picture is still supporting the long side generally, right? And I'm talking about very short term when I say that. So we'll see if we can get up into that area. And you may say, well, why not buy it? And if it gets up into that area, you have a profit, because it can randomly turn the wrong way anywhere, in this area. I'm not interested in taking that risk. Okay. On top of that, I'd have to put my stop like way over here. I would rather see the market test that area, because what happens is all these people who react like that, they all get stuck in this thing long, and they all start banging it out over here. Okay. That's where I want to be buying it, from these morons who don't know any better. That's the way this game works. All right. You're basically, as a day trader or as a retail trader, you're making your money off of other retail traders who have no idea what they're doing. You're making the money off the mistakes of others. Hey, these are not my rules. It's just the way it works. Okay. So we'll see how that goes. Now, while we're waiting for Bitcoin to do something interesting for us, We're going to leave this 5-minute chart. Oh, I have to change it to the perp chart. Okay, hold on. So let's go to BTC perp. All right, and we'll put the Binance chart up. Again, this is just to have, you should be in like one of these perp charts. I still have a line. Look, that line is there from yesterday. Okay. Whatever exchange that you use to place day trades, that's whose data feed you should use. That's pretty simple. I'm not a big fan of using their charts. Each one of them has their own. It's basically like a white label of TradingView. They're using the TradingView chart, and then they have all that other garbage that surrounds the charts. Only use the platform for order entry. Otherwise, they all the information on those platforms, you think, oh, this is good stuff, this is special. No, it's not. It's there to stimulate you. Please, all of them are the same, all of them. All right, so just letting you know that. All right, so let's get into some of the bigger picture stuff here, and let's talk about some of these other markets. Now, all right, Han, right, is it wise to use the RSI? No. Han, good question. I've spent time with the RSI. It's not like I'm being ignorant and I think I know better. I've spent a lot of time with the RSI and a few other oscillators. Some of them you won't even have heard of. And they only introduce confusion. I know a lot of the fakes out there, they like to use the RSI because it's interesting. In fact, in previous webinars that I've done, I've highlighted the RSI and how to use it basically as a signal filter. I've talked about all that, okay, but it's unnecessary, okay? Less is more. I cannot emphasize that enough. Less is more. So I try to use the least amount of information possible. After the fact, of course, you'll find some truth. Oh, the RSI would have called that one. Oh, yeah, I would have called that one. Yeah, but then you ignore all the ones that it would have gotten you into trouble on. And there's lots of those, especially in a range-bound situation, okay? So please, I don't use it. And I found that it's better to stay away from complexity. All right. In this game, look, if the RSI offered any advantage, it wouldn't be available. It wouldn't be available for free and all that other stuff. But everyone has access to it. It's just random. You're just fooling yourself. Okay. With that, there's no advantage to using it. All of them are the same. All right. Hey, Jeff. All right. Good to see you. So with all that rant out of the way, man, I've been ranting for 17 minutes. Let's take a look here at the bigger picture. Now, what I want to do, first of all, you know the article that I wrote the other day on Bitcoin, and basically my argument was this thing can go either way. I'm not looking for longs or shorts at this location. I said I'm looking for shorts up here, okay? The 18Ks. I'm looking for longs over here, the range low. These lines represent the range. We're in a range. It's overlapping. All the price action inside here is meaningless. The bigger picture, though, right? When we look at the much bigger picture on Bitcoin, right? Look at this. The bigger picture is bearish. There's nothing bullish about this. Lower highs, lower lows all over the place. And we have a lower high developing. So the bigger picture favors a test of lows. That's why I've been talking about 14K. That's why I've been telling people be prepared for it. I don't know if we're going to get there, but it's still within reason. This thing can go to 10K. It's possible. It's going to depend on the catalyst. Okay. So if there's some more like stuff, FTX related stuff that comes out or whatever, some other unforeseen catalyst that comes out, this thing can be pushing, right? That's why I have this rectangle here. This thing could be pushing that or possibly lower. So if you take this short, that is a bearish pin bar to go short. If it takes out the low, you have a signal, but this is a really tough location. If you take that short, you're on your own. I'm not even going to share that one because the location is so random. Maybe it works out, but you're going to need a catalyst. Keep in mind, you may get a positive catalyst and it may go the other way. The Bitcoin follows the stock market, and the stock market has a tendency to be very optimistic around this time of year. So you're fighting emotion here. You're fighting the general consensus of how people feel. Be careful with that. Okay, you want to take the risk, that's up to you, but you have to be quick to get out. Don't sit there and give it a chance if it goes the wrong way, like that oil trade, which I'm going to show you here in a moment. Good to hear professional ranting than those 100K. Well, Lord, that's the typical thing. Look, they tell people what they want to hear, and that's what everyone does. In fact, I've been told multiple times, well, why don't you just lie to people a little bit? Why don't you just, you always complain that you have no followers. Maybe you should tell people what they want to hear. I refuse. I'd rather have 3 followers than lie to everyone, because for one, my reputation is important to me. I'm a CMT number 2. Most of these clowns are not CMTs. I worked very hard to get that title, and I like to maintain the integrity of that title. There are rules, or what is that called? I have to follow a code of conduct as a CMT. So you won't see me coming out with 100K nonsense, because if I was coming out with that, I would be violating the code of conduct. Okay. So when you listen to someone on one of these public platforms, it would be a good idea if they happen to be, have a professional background, at least a CMT. I would say 99% of these morons do not have a CMT, which means they're allowed to say whatever they want and there's no accountability. Okay. So anyway, thank you for mentioning. Don't get me started on those rants, because I'll talk for hours about it. Anyway, all right, let's move along here. So you understand the Bitcoin situation, right? That's the bigger picture. So if you go short, you're on your own with that. If this thing gets squeezed, just be prepared to take a loss, and make sure it's a small portion of your account. That's all I can tell you. After the fact, if this thing sells off, oh, you missed it, I'm not willing to take the risk, and that's that simple. Okay. So, and I don't short Bitcoin anyway, personally. I don't short it. So I call the shorts. I don't short it myself. I always make that clear, but I short other markets. So let's talk about that a little bit. So first, I want to show you, we always have to do this. I always check the bond market. You should be in the habit of checking the bond market every day. What's going on with the bond market? Anything? Most of the time, nothing changes really for much, right? And this resistance is still in play. We have another inside bar forming here. If this momentum continues lower, rates are rising. That's all I need to know. The trend on this thing hasn't changed. Okay, people say, what trend? The trend is bullish, right? Look, the trend is bullish. The trend is not bullish. That's not the trend. That's just a reaction of the broader trend. The broader trend is bearish. And this is just a little piece of it right here. Okay, the broader trend is bearish. There's nothing bullish about this yet, which means rates are still poised to rise, which puts bearish pressure on everything. Okay, watching Bitcoin, let's go jump back to our day trade mentality. See, I have to jump back and forth here from bigger picture to smaller picture. It could be confusing for some people. All right, so this is the area. I'm interested in the area. This is like, I'll call this the more aggressive area, because we're still fooling around in the midpoint. I mean, look, that's the midpoint. Okay, and I wasn't willing to buy it like over here, and we're kind of still fooling around there, right? Now we're coming up into, what is it, 10, just after 10 o'clock. A lot of times news comes out at this time. I don't think we have any news scheduled for today. This week is pretty light on the news front in terms of, like, things like manufacturing or CPI and all that stuff. I had not seen much of it. Besides yesterday, I haven't seen much of anything else. So we'll see how this behaves, but I'll be honest with you, I don't like this area too much. Okay, so I think, for this example, I'm going to wait for a better price. I would like to see this area here. I really would. Like I said before, all those longs getting long, and then they get caught in this, right? So now if they got long, now they have to hope. Oh, I hope this thing recovers, and maybe the market recovers, and then they feel, oh, I'm so good, I'm so skilled that, yeah, right. Meanwhile, the market was just being nice to you. Okay, so we're not caught in that situation, because I know better. I know not to go long in random areas. Now look, the hope goes out the window. Oh, that's not looking too good. Oh, I don't know what to do now. And look, now we're getting into our more attractive support area. You just have to wait, okay? Patience pays. It's worth more than taking action. It's worth more than your RSI. All right, let's move along here. So on the bigger picture, so while we're waiting for that, nothing to do there. While we're waiting for that, let's talk about, all right, so we covered the bonds. I want to go right into my trade ideas, right? So let's go to oil. Look at this mess. Now, Stian called this the other day, right? Stian had mentioned oil. And I said, you know what, Stian, that's a nice setup. And that was this pin bar setup right here. He called it. I said, all right, you know what, I'm going to share that. I believe it was like Monday. I forget the exact day that I shared that trade. It was also, I shared the euro at the same time, okay? And the previous week was full of, we had Chairman Powell on Wednesday, and we had NFP on Friday. And I called that. I sat through that oil that whole time, and the euro. The euro got stopped out. Oil, right? Oil was worth at one point like 4 or 5 points, right? And we were risking, the risk on that trade was 5 points, right? The long was, I think, 77.85, I believe, was the long. and the stop I had at 70, I think 72.85. It was something like that. I forget the exact prices. And at one point, that trade was worth 83.82, so it was worth like about 5 points. Now, of course, I was not, my profit target was much higher than that, okay? And then on Friday, I saw this, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to, I had enough problems with like the euro and all that stuff, giving the money back. So I'm getting out. And I called a market order to exit on that, okay, before the market closed on Friday. Look where we are now. So this trade would have been a mess. That would have been another stop out, or, I mean, not actually, it wouldn't have been stopped out yet, but it would have been, the trade would have been negative. It would have been from +5 to negative. I got away with like +2, something, whatever, a couple of points, right? Which, that's not a lot. Well, for oil, it is. That's, oil, this is a pretty, we're talking about the CFD or the futures contract. So if you have a couple of contracts on, this equates to a lot of money. All right, because oil is like, what is it, 10 cents? Is it $10 per point or whatever? Points are, it moves in pennies, right? It's highly leveraged. So anyway, the point is, I got away with a profit on a trade that would have been, at least if I put break even, this would have broken even right there, right? This trade would be negative and possibly stop out. I got away with a profit. That's how those euro trades should have been, at least break even. If I was a little more, I guess you could say, if I was micromanaging them better. But that's why we're going to be more on top of the stops this time. This environment just stinks. So I wanted to point that out. So we got away with a green trade in a situation that would have turned red. And that is, again, how you make money. Okay, I was able to mitigate that risk and get away with some green, right? That's how you do it. You don't sit there and say, well, I think oil is a long, and then you start looking for all this bullish information. Oh, oil's got to be a long, and then you just sit there and hope and have this opinion. I got out. All right, so that's the first thing I want to point that out. Oil. Would you look to re-enter oil? Maybe, but thing is, this obviously there's going to have to be a setup and a confirmation. I'll be open to the idea. Oil's in a tough spot. Okay, if oil breaks, that's a low. You have to realize something. Again, everyone's like, oh, it's a bottom again, right? And everyone's focused on this, but don't lose sight of this. That's a lower high. So that's not exactly a sign of strength. On top of that lower high, we haven't taken out any resistance levels. So taking another long, it's going to be risky. All right, because I'm buying something that's showing weakness. You have to be careful of that, okay? I gave it a chance the first time because it was a nice pin bar and it was a nice clean-cut double bottom. It was a broader double bottom. So it's okay, let's see how far that goes. It went nowhere. It barely went anywhere. A nice move would have been a push up to this resistance. It's like, nope, not even close. So this can break. So I'm not going to be in a hurry to get long, all right? And if a long in that situation where a lower low is likely is highly aggressive. Do you see why? Do you see how the probability is lower? Probability is not something we can see here. Okay. Hey, Izzy. So, all right. So Euro Aussie. Well, I'm not going over specific charts in this stream. I usually do that on Mondays. I'm just covering like broader markets, and also what I'm doing here is I'm reviewing trades. Let's just take a look at Verve real quick. Verve was something someone called yesterday, right? Now look at Verve. Similar to that setup that Steen called, but the thing is, this trade is not active, right? You guys know, if we look at in the signals channel, which I'm not going to say the specific price here, you guys know where the long is. See what I mean? That's why I use stop orders to get in and not react to what's there. This trade is not active yet. Okay, the trade idea is there, but it's not active. Let's look at the euro against the dollar, because this is another one. Now the euro against the dollar. Look at the low. Look at today's low. All right, 104.75. Where's my order, Steen? Is it at 104.75? Is that 104.80? You don't have to put the order in here. I put that in the signals channel. My order is not active yet. This thing went to 104.75 overnight, okay? And then it went back to 105.32. And I was not caught in that. All right, now the euro is getting close to the entry. But the point is, I put my order a little further out of the way so that the market has to work to get me in. Now, there are many times where it'll just tap me in and then go the wrong way. That happens. But it's situations like this where, I don't have to be involved in this noise. If the euro never goes lower and starts working its way higher, that's a trade that I will not be in, okay, unless it taps me in. The market does the work. The market decides if I'm in or not me. I try to minimize myself from the equation as much as possible. No one will tell you that. But the fact that I say this stuff publicly, I notice some guys, maybe it's just me, with conspiracy theories, but some guys seem to be copying me. And I'm like small compared to the followings that they have. I'm like minuscule. And I'm like, why are you guys copying me, man? You guys should be copying someone else. I mean, clearly, no one likes what I do. So, but I see some guys doing some strange things. I'm like, that looks weird. And especially when it's not their usual type of video, because I look at their other videos too, right? So I don't know. Anyway, but so don't be surprised if you see some of these fake morons talking about these things that I talk about, because I give away a lot of good stuff. And these clowns, they make money copying people. I understand. Look, that's the way it works. Everyone copies everyone. I understand that. Okay, fine. But at least give me a plug or something. Help me out. Anyway, all right. So, all right. So I answered those questions from Turkey. Oh, welcome. Oh, Levent. That's you. Okay, I know you, Levent. All right, cool. So all right. So I covered those markets, right? I wanted to just go over some of those trade ideas that I have in play, right? They're still just ideas. They're not even trades yet. Now, what I want to talk about here, let's just jump over to the NASDAQ. All right. Now, I don't think we're going to have any day trades today. I'm over 30 minutes. So I'm going to be wrapping this up here in a moment. I want to look at this here real quick because this is important. All right. I've been talking about this. We've been talking about this short over previous streams. In fact, someone asked me about the NASDAQ yesterday in my YouTube stream and my TradingView stream. And I said, we have the inside bar. Look, we took out the low of the inside bar. There is a sell signal now in play. It's actually a compound sell signal. There are two sell signals, and it's off of this resistance area. Now, the lesson to be learned here, this candle here, which fooled a lot of people, that was the Santa Powell candle. I call it that because that was his gift to the markets, right? He said something dovish, and everyone was having a party, and it went straight into resistance. And I warned people. I said, I'm not buying this. This is a joke. It's a resistance level. I like to buy support levels. On top of that, this market hasn't proven to be bullish. Stop listening to people. Okay, everyone jumped on board of that. Oh, the market's going to be bullish now. Oh, everything is going to be good. Time to buy Facebook and blah, 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 blah. Don't get caught in that garbage. Follow the price. I always tell people, follow price, not people. People lie. I keep bringing this example up. Chairman Powell, okay, very powerful guy in charge of a lot of information, has a lot of valuable information, all the time in front of him, right? He still says that inflation was a mistake, right? Transitory inflation, he made a mistake. Come on. Seriously, come on. So, that look, I know they have to operate in a certain way and they have political agendas that they have to fulfill. I understand that. I don't pretend to know how the Fed works, but making a mistake like that, I just find it weird or unusual, right? So my point is, don't listen to people. When a man like that comes out and says, "Oh, we're gonna lay off the rates a little bit, and we're gonna be nice to everyone," and blah 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 blah, it's just some kind of who knows what the agenda was behind that. But all I could tell you was there was no reason to go long. Okay, there was no reason. So a lot of people got sucked in, and now they're watching. Oh, I don't understand what's going on. What happened to the Santa rally? I thought I bought the bottom of the market. I don't know. I don't know what to do now. And they watch their money just melt away. Okay. We have a minor support coming here, but I'm not a big fan of that level. So this is really the area I'm more interested in. Okay. And it's possible that we test that. I would be a little surprised if we test that soon because, again, this is generally an optimistic time of year. So this pullback, I would not be surprised to see if it finds buying activity somewhere around that midpoint, because again, people want to be happy, okay? And they like all this holiday euphoria nonsense. And I think that finds its way into the markets. This is typically a very optimistic and bullish time of year seasonally. I mean, do you remember where we were a year ago? Of course, we have our economic situation is not the same as it was back then. But the point is, be careful of that holiday optimism. All right. So back to Bitcoin. All right, Bill, is Bill here gonna see? Look, he's he's making me accountable here. All right, so I have to keep this at a half hour. All right, so let me just do this. Let me just leave you with this Bitcoin situation. Hold on, do we have a trade here? No trade yet. So we are in a much more attractive area. It's a range low, okay, as we talked about. So I'm going to tell you what you need to see. Now, I highly recommend that you do this on paper, all right? Even for these exercises, I only do this on a paper trade account. I'm not taking these for real because we can lose, all right? And I don't want to be losing money while I'm doing a stream. So it's possible. I want to point that out. This candle here is a doji, the one before, this current green candle. You can use that, right? Breaks the doji high. All right, it's going there now. So what is the high there? 653. Here, let me make this bigger so I can see what's going on. 653, and we're at 657. So that's a long. All right. 659. All right. For just for the record, we're going to take it long now. We're a little bit behind. We'll say 659. Now I'm not pulling out the trade ladder because I got to sign off, and I'm not going to sit here and see how the outcome of this trade goes. I suggest you do this on paper and track it yourself. Okay. So that's the entry. All right. The stop is going to have to go here, and that is 926. Is that right? So yeah. So 959, right, is the entry. 926 is that right? 25 points. That's kind of small for Bitcoin. All right, so just to give it a little more room, you can give it like maybe a 30 or 40 point stop, right? So if basically 960, so you're looking at like 920 or something like that, just give it a little room. 40 points is pretty reasonable, all right? And you're looking for at least 40 points, but it'd be ideal if you can get more than 40 points, like maybe 80 points, 100 points. That's a reasonable target. It may take an hour or two to get there. So that means it needs to go, let's see. So if we're long from 59, we need to go to 1759, right? Where is that? 17,015. That's really high up here. 17. So we need to see a move. I just want to find it on the chart. It's going to be like all the way up here. Okay, this right all the way up here. This a move all the way up there. That would be a 100-point move. Okay, that's ideal. I'm not saying it's going to get there. It may take some time. I mean, look at the trouble you have up in this area, right? So there's going to be selling most likely before it gets there. So if you can reach 1-to-1, basically, you're up 40 or 50 points or something, and it gives you a hard time, take the money. Either way, this thing's green. Don't let it go red. Okay, we're at 974 right now. If it turns like right now and it turns red, okay, kind of give it a chance. That you can't put your stop to break even too early. It needs some room. And if you get stopped out for break even, there's nothing wrong with that either. You're just mitigating your risk. Don't be profit oriented where you're like, oh, I gave back this and that's just greed. Okay. It's not your money. This is not our money. If this was real, this is not our money. This is the market's money. If we give it back, it's just the market taking back its money. It's not our money. As long as we break even, right? It's not our money. All right. If it goes red and it goes to the stop, then we lose our money. Okay. But as long as that does not happen, we're not losing our money. We're losing what they call it, the house money. All right. It's the market's money. So don't look at that as yours. Don't make that mistake. People make that mistake all the time because greed, it's natural. It's human to be, greed is just part of human nature, and you need to control that. That's a very important thing. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to leave you guys with that. I'm not going to keep talking here, and I'm not going to see the outcome of this trade. That's up to you guys. That's going to be your homework assignment. Okay. So we'll see how that goes, and then we can review this tomorrow. All right, everyone. So I know now Bill is going to yell at me because I'm over by 10 minutes. But hey, I'm getting better. Usually I'm on for an hour. I say half hour, and I'm on for an hour. All right, you guys. So hey, thank you for watching. I hope you found this stream helpful. You know where to find me. Click on the links in the description portion. I hope to see you in the community. And by the way, there are a lot of scammers in that channel trying to ask people for money as me. I will not reach out to you personally and ask you for money. I don't do that. Okay. If people are interested, I ask them to send me a message. I don't send you a message. All right, so there's a warning channel. Bill put a lot of very valuable information in there. If you enter the Discord server, I highly recommend going. It says warning, read first. Go to that channel first. It explains how the scammer works and what to do if someone reaches out to you as a scammer. Please check that first. I can't emphasize that enough. The scammer watches my streams and then goes in there and tries to fool people into thinking that it's me. Okay, so anyway, all right, everyone. So enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, and thank you very much for watching.